This is a space for people who know that aging does not mean giving up control over their health or their future. I'm Dr. Michael Reynolds, and with me is Dr. Charles Whitmore, a physician who has spent 33 years helping older adults protect their heart health, independence, and quality of life. Together, we focus on the changes your body makes after 60 and what you can still do about them. Today, we are focusing on a time of day that quietly carries the highest risk for the heart in adults over 60. This conversation is especially for people who feel fine most of the day, follow medical advice, and yet underestimate what happens in the first hours after waking up. Dr. Whitmore, many people do not realize that the morning is when serious cardiac events are most likely to occur. Why is that?
Because the body wakes up under very specific conditions. After a full night of sleep, most people are mildly dehydrated, blood is thicker, blood vessels are more reactive, and stress hormones such as cortisol rise sharply. For the heart, this creates a vulnerable window.
So, this is not about rare diseases or extreme cases.
Not at all. This is about normal physiology interacting with daily habits. Research, summarized by major cardiology organizations, has shown that many heart attacks and sudden cardiac events occur between early morning and late morning, with the highest risk in the first 2 hours after waking.
That makes those first hours especially important.
Exactly. Small decisions made in that window can either support the heart or place unnecessary strain on it.
In today's conversation, we will walk through 5 common morning mistakes that increase cardiac stress in older adults. These are habits many people consider harmless or even healthy.
And just as importantly, we will explain practical, safe alternatives. Simple adjustments that reduce strain on the heart without turning your morning upside down.
If you stay with us, you will understand why the first 2 hours after waking matter so much, which habits to avoid during that time, and how to create a calmer, safer start to the day that supports long-term heart health. Dr. Whitmore, you mentioned a vulnerable window in the morning. Can you walk us through exactly what is happening inside the body during those first 2 hours?
Certainly. When a person wakes up, the cardiovascular system shifts from a resting nighttime state to an active daytime state very quickly. This transition places multiple demands on the heart at the same time.
What is the first major change?
Dehydration. During sleep, the body loses water through breathing and perspiration. By morning, many adults are mildly dehydrated. This causes the blood to become more concentrated, which increases resistance as the heart pumps.
So the heart has to work harder right away.
Exactly. At the same time, blood pressure naturally rises after waking. This is part of the circadian rhythm. For older adults with stiffer arteries, that rise can be more pronounced.
You also mentioned stress hormones.
Yes, cortisol levels peak in the early morning. Cortisol prepares the body to wake up, but it also narrows blood vessels and increases blood sugar. When cortisol spikes while the blood is thicker and vessels are less flexible, the heart experiences additional strain.
How does clotting factor into this?
Blood has a higher tendency to clot in the morning. Platelet activity increases, and fibrinolysis, the process that breaks down clots, is less active early in the day. This combination explains why heart attacks and strokes are more common in the morning hours.
Is this supported by large-scale data?
Yes. Analyses summarized by cardiology organizations in the United States have consistently shown a higher incidence of heart attacks, sudden cardiac death, and stroke between early morning and late morning, with a clear concentration in the first 2 hours after waking.
So these risks exist even before a person does anything active.
That is correct. The risk is already elevated by physiology alone. When certain morning habits are added on top of that, the burden on the heart can increase significantly.
Which explains why everyday routines matter so much.
Precisely. Understanding this window allows older adults to make calmer, safer choices that reduce unnecessary strain on the heart during its most vulnerable time of day.
Dr. Whitmore, many older adults pride themselves on getting up quickly and starting the day without delay. Why can that be risky for the heart?
Because the cardiovascular system is not ready for sudden demands immediately after waking. During sleep, heart rate and blood pressure are lower. When someone jumps out of bed, gravity pulls blood toward the legs, and the heart must react instantly to maintain blood flow to the brain.
What happens if that adjustment is too abrupt?
Blood pressure can spike or drop unpredictably. In older adults, arteries are often stiffer, and the nervous system responds more slowly. This combination increases the risk of dizziness, abnormal heart rhythms, and in some cases, acute cardiac events.
So this is not just about feeling lightheaded.
Correct. Sudden changes can trigger serious problems. Rapid posture changes can increase sympathetic nervous system activity, releasing adrenaline in a heart that already faces thicker blood and higher morning cortisol. That extra stress may be enough to cause trouble.
Is this why some people collapse shortly after standing up?
Yes, orthostatic stress plays a role. When the body cannot adjust fast enough, blood flow to vital organs temporarily drops. In vulnerable individuals, this can provoke fainting, dangerous arrhythmias, or even cardiac arrest.
What is the safer alternative?
I advise a gradual transition. After waking, remain lying down for a minute or two. Gently move the ankles and calves to activate circulation. Then sit at the edge of the bed for at least 2 minutes before standing. Once standing, pause briefly before walking.
That sounds simple, but very intentional.
Simple changes often have the greatest impact. Giving the heart time to adjust reduces sudden pressure shifts and lowers morning risk significantly.
We have talked about the first common mistake. Dr. Whitmore, what would you say is the second morning mistake that places unnecessary strain on the heart in older adults?
The second mistake I see very often is drinking strong coffee immediately after waking, before the body has had a chance to rehydrate. After a night of sleep, most people are mildly dehydrated. When caffeine is added at that moment, it stimulates the nervous system, raises heart rate, and causes blood vessels to constrict. This increases the workload on the heart when blood is already thicker.
So the issue is not coffee itself, but the timing.
Exactly. Coffee later in the morning is usually tolerated well, but drinking it on an empty stomach before drinking water can amplify morning blood pressure spikes and palpitations, especially in adults over 60.
What is a safer way to approach this habit?
Begin the day with water. I recommend about 12 to 16 ounces shortly after waking. Wait at least 30 minutes before drinking coffee, and consider having a small amount of food first. These steps significantly reduce sudden cardiovascular stress.
And what would you consider the next mistake people often make without realizing the risk?
Taking a hot shower too soon after waking. Hot water causes blood vessels to widen quickly. This can lead to a sudden drop in blood pressure. The heart then compensates by beating faster and harder, which increases strain during a vulnerable time of day.
Is this why some people feel weak or lightheaded in the shower?
Yes. The combination of heat, standing, and morning physiology can overwhelm the cardiovascular system. In older adults, this has been associated with higher rates of dizziness, fainting, and in rare cases, serious cardiac events.
What changes do you recommend to reduce that risk?
Wait 15 to 20 minutes after waking before showering. Use warm rather than very hot water. Keep showers under 10 minutes and avoid sudden temperature changes. These adjustments help maintain blood pressure stability in the morning.
We have covered several morning habits so far. Dr. Whitmore, what would you identify as the next common mistake related to physical activity?
The next mistake is starting high-intensity exercise too soon after waking. Many older adults believe that exercising early is always beneficial, but timing matters greatly for the heart.
What makes early intense exercise risky?
In the first hours after waking, blood is still more concentrated, cortisol levels remain high, and blood vessels are less flexible. When someone suddenly demands high output from the heart, such as running hard or lifting heavy weights, the cardiovascular system may be pushed beyond a safe threshold.
So even people who feel fit can be at risk.
Yes. Fitness does not eliminate morning physiology. In older adults with underlying plaque in the arteries, sudden, intense exertion can increase the risk of plaque rupture, abnormal heart rhythms, or reduced blood flow to the heart muscle.
What approach do you recommend instead?
Avoid high-intensity workouts during the first 2 hours after waking. If someone prefers to exercise in the morning, begin with a long warm-up of at least 15 to 20 minutes. Gradually raise heart rate and keep intensity moderate.
Are there warning signs people should not ignore?
Absolutely. Chest discomfort, unusual shortness of breath, dizziness, nausea, or cold sweating are signals to stop immediately and seek medical advice. These are not signs to push through.
So, the goal is not to avoid exercise, but to respect timing.
Exactly. Exercise is one of the best tools for heart health. It simply needs to be placed at the right time of day and introduced gradually to support rather than stress the cardiovascular system.
We have discussed several physical habits so far. Dr. Whitmore, what would you describe as the final common morning mistake that affects the heart?
The final mistake is beginning the day in a state of mental and emotional stress. Many older adults reach for their phone immediately after waking to check news, messages, or social media. This may seem harmless, but it has a measurable effect on the heart.
How does mental stress translate into cardiovascular strain?
When stress is triggered early in the morning, cortisol and adrenaline rise even further. Blood pressure increases, heart rate accelerates, and blood vessels tighten. When this happens during the same vulnerable window we discussed earlier, the cumulative strain can be significant.
So stress adds another layer on top of dehydration and hormonal changes.
Exactly. The heart does not experience these factors separately. They stack on top of each other. Emotional stress can be just as demanding on the cardiovascular system as physical exertion.
Is there evidence that chronic morning stress has long-term consequences?
Yes. Long-term exposure to elevated stress hormones has been linked to higher rates of hypertension, inflammation, and cardiac events. Over time, repeated morning stress responses can accelerate cardiovascular aging.
What practical changes do you recommend?
I suggest creating a calm buffer at the start of the day. For the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking, avoid news, email, and social media. Instead, focus on gentle movement, slow breathing, and natural light. This allows the nervous system to stabilize before the demands of the day begin.
That sounds more intentional than most morning routines.
Intentional mornings protect the heart. Reducing early stress lowers blood pressure variability and helps the cardiovascular system transition more safely into the day.
Dr. Whitmore, as we conclude, what is the most important message you want older adults to remember from today's conversation?
The key message is that heart risk in older adults is not only about disease, it is also about timing. The first 2 hours after waking are a sensitive period, and small habits during that window can either protect the heart or place unnecessary strain on it.
So this is about awareness, not fear.
Exactly. None of the habits we discussed are dangerous by themselves. The risk comes from stacking them together during a vulnerable time. Sudden movement, dehydration, caffeine, heat, intense exercise, and stress can combine in ways that overwhelm the cardiovascular system.
For someone listening today, what is a realistic way to start making changes?
Start with one adjustment. Perhaps begin the morning with water, or slow the transition out of bed, or create a calm first 30 minutes. These small steps, practiced consistently, reduce morning blood pressure swings and support heart stability over time.
What benefits do people often notice first?
Many report fewer dizzy spells, steadier energy, and a calmer heart rhythm in the morning. Over the long term, these habits support better blood pressure control, reduce cardiac strain, and greater confidence in daily activities.
This reinforces that prevention does not require extreme measures.
Correct. Protecting the aging heart is about respecting how the body changes with age and working with those changes rather than against them.
Thank you, Dr. Whitmore, for sharing your clinical insight today.
It has been my pleasure. Helping older adults understand how to care for their hearts is always worthwhile.
New videos are shared regularly to support healthier choices, clearer thinking, and a more active, confident future, one step at a time. This channel is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider before making health-related decisions. If today's conversation was helpful, please like this video, share it with someone who may benefit, and leave a comment below. Subscribe to Healthy Golden Years for more evidence-based guidance on aging well.